Hmm. Staring at a blank page. You've got the brief, but you don't know where to start. How do you translate writing into an image? How do you draw out what you see in your mind? How do you paint what you've got as an idea? Well, stick around for the next 15 minutes. I'll show you what being a concept artist is about, the past, present, and future of where concept artists are, and how we go about being one. Then I'll guide you through the process that I go through to create images. Right. Suppose we should start with introductions first. Well, I'm Michael Howard, and I'm a concept artist here at Chocolate Tribe, a visual effects and animation studio. Okay, let's start. What, where, and how? What is a concept artist in the visual effects and animation pipeline? What do we do? Where did the drawing and designing start from one's imagination? How does a concept artist create images from nothing but a description? These are all questions you might probably be asking. Well, let's start. What is a concept artist? Well, it's basically the person that designs something from nothing, at the very early stages in the production pipeline. We're given a script, a brief or a description, and we're objected to translate that into a picture, whether drawing or painting, sometimes even a 3D render. The concept art is then used in the early visualization and the beginning of the production, and assists in the creative direction of 3D assets, set building, character and costume design, camera angling, scene and lighting, mooding, among many pre-visualizations before and during a production. We take your idea and we turn it into an image that you can understand, an image that the viewer can look at and understand that, oh, this is exactly what I had in mind. It can be anything from creatures, to characters, to vehicles, or to environments, to mood boards that help directors understand color and composition, or even with camera angles and lighting, such as keyframe concepts. Right. Time. Where did we as humans start drawing, or designing from our imaginations? Where do we use it now in our everyday lives? Well, the first artists, you could say, were nomads, drawing what they imagined on cave walls, figuring out the mediums of their time, where they could express what they saw in their minds, telling stories, creating visuals out of ideas, scaring people, I don't know. A concept artist isn't just an artist. We're also designers, much the same as an industrial designer or vehicle designer, or any other designer of the sort. We're drawing and painting ideas into something that is visual, that is understandable, with shape and form and lighting, from where it can be used by modelers or manufacturers or carpenters to create a physical product, such as the toothbrush you might be using every morning, or the car that you drive in to get to work. Concepting designs that will get used for the present and future. But how do we do it? How do we get it done? Some use clay or model making. Some, like myself, use digital tools, such as a pen, tablet, and computer software to sketch and paint. Some even use pen and paper, markers, or paint. Really, it's using anything that might easily and effectively represent your concept in a 2D image to the viewer. The biggest tool that I use as a concept artist in the visual effects and animation industry is Photoshop. It allows me to draw, paint, and bash 2D images. It's not limited to just 2D, as it can also do some small animating, and even has some 3D capabilities. With it, I can take a photo and completely mash it up and turn it into a completely different image, changing the lighting and composition. For example, if the director was looking for a lighter, happier mood with more castles and unicorns and dragons in their environment, I could change and make all these changes in Photoshop. And if I need to pull in pictures of unicorns and dragons and stuff, or draw them in, I can just as easily do it. Incorporating 3D into this process with programs such as Blender, Maya, and anything like that, That can be useful, benefiting me where I could render out something and already have the lighting and the camera angle and composition ready for me, instead of painting it out from scratch, and then in Photoshop I can pull in the 3D render and paint over it, making my job quicker and sometimes easier. One other tool that I've been using lately is called Midjourney, which is part of the AI system. It seems as though AI is replacing us as artists, but in the short of it, you could rather play the Uno reverse card and use it for your benefit. Not making you lazy, of course, and not taking your job away, but typing in something and it will give you a bunch of options. And they could be satisfying options, but then adding on top of that your own creativity with some adjustments, and just like that, presto, you got your concept. So why not then use the AI and create something even faster? Cool. Right, you've got some questions answered. Let's move on to the process of concept art. This is definitely dependent on the pipeline you might be involved in, but with the most common and the process that I approach when getting into concept arting is much the same as the process as any designer might go through. Starting off with a few rough ideas and slowly refining the preferred idea, from where the client will then hopefully be happy with what the design is going. Let's start with the rough. From the brief, we start off with a page of rough ideas, sketches, paintings. The rough part of the process is meant to be very quick phase, doodling out quick ideas that translate the brief, having strong shape, strong composition, strong silhouettes, and the direction that the brief is going. In this process, using digital tools of copy and paste is an easy cheat to quickly tweak, where you can then get numerous and multiple numbers of sketches, where the client can then choose from deciding on the characteristics they would like to see more of or less of, and making, if necessary, big changes to the design. They might choose more than one option. They could say that the environment needs to be slightly darker or moodier, or the composition needs more adjusting. This is the rough idea of the brief, the rough stage. It's very useful up to a certain point, as it lacks details. That comes in the refining stage. From the rough idea, we can go into a more refined process. The refining process is polishing up the design, adding in some cleaner lines or painting, or adding in photo textures, adding some more lighting, adding some glares and atmosphere. Things that will add to the design to make it more and more appealing, that the viewer can better understand, hey, this does look like an alien riding an ox wagon. But at this point, maybe the client still wants to make some changes, or see some more variations of the design. Maybe they would like to see different textures applied to the design, or to see variants of the same environment but at different times of the day, or at different camera angles. At this stage in the process, that's okay, because we're still in the refining process. This process is still rather basic. We're still thinking about the design. We're not quite sitting and refining. We're not polishing the finished design to make it look pretty enough for the final design. That's the next process. At this process, we're still sitting and refining the rough edges of the design. Only after all these are approved by the client, art director, whoever it is, then we can start polishing. The polishing process. This is much the final process. Now, I don't like saying it would be the final process, the final design, as art is never finished. But this then is the final design that was expressed in the brief. This is the polish process of a concept art piece. Making the design look pretty, adding in small details, tweaking the rough, broad strokes from the previous stages to make the overall picture clearer. Remember to add things that will help with scale or to sell the concept better, such as strong foreground elements or atmospherics. As a concept artist in the visual effects and animation industry, it's my job to be able to design just about anything. whether it is a character or a vehicle or an environment or even a prop, something simple like a dustbin even. Understanding all these things and how they might look and how you can incorporate these things into your design comes from a strong visual library. A strong visual library comes from sketching and drawing everything and anything all the time. As a concept artist, you need to understand design, shape, form, lighting, color, composition, all this. All this comes from theory. But like with everything, it needs practice in the practical to better understand how the theory is then applied. Right. So we've got our concept, but now the directors come back for more. Sometimes we might be required to do some more additionals. This is sort of going a step back to the refining process. For the 3D modeler, they might need to have something broken down better, to better understand what it is that the prop might look like from the back, or the side, or the front. Maybe there's a design feature that needs some more detail. Sometimes, then it is a matter of taking the 3D model that was modeled from your concept to adjust it slightly or tweak it slightly, adding in some detail that weren't in the concept or have since been added. Here is also the stage where a character might need emotions and facial expressions designed, showing how the character might look when they're crying or laughing. From there, the 3D guys can then rig and model the character according to the emotions designed. These are just a few additionals. Now, they're not always necessary. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And that's it. That's a process in which me, as a concept artist here at Chocolate Tribe, takes on to create something from nothing. Designing something that has never existed before. Text to picture. My biggest advice that I'd like to give to anybody out there that wants to become a concept artist, that wants to get into this field, is never stop drawing. The more you draw, the more confidence you will have to draw anything. Like I said before, the more you draw, the more you understand form, shape, composition, the silhouette of things, and even the lighting. A drawing can have two values, but you can still see its shape and form, its 3D-ness, on a 2D surface. In drawing all the time, remember the process: rough, refine, and polish, and then start the same process all over again. And when we've done that, we understand design even better. We can create something out of nothing. So that's it. That's the life of a concept artist. We draw a lot, we're constantly designing, we create pictures from descriptions, and we do it all from memory, from our imagination, our visual library. Remember, practice makes perfect, and never stop drawing.